to Disambiguation. I'm your host, Michael Fawcett. Each week we interview experts in AI, generative AI, and business automation to help business leaders understand how to use these tools for the biggest business impact. In our show today, we look at empowering everyone, building business AI with low-code, no-code studios. I'm joined by Vinay Balasubramaniam, VP Product Management, Einstein Copilot, Salesforce. Vinay, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Could you do a quick introduction and just tell us a little bit about your experience with AI and Salesforce?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, I had the product team for Einstein Copilot, been with Salesforce for a little over 2.5 years. Before that, I was at Google. I was one of the product leads for Google BigQuery. And my experience with AI has been actually started when I was in Google. I was leading the BigQuery product team, but towards the end, BigQuery has this amazing capability called BigQuery ML, which is essentially machine learning built into your data platform, which is BigQuery. So that way, without having to move any data, you could actually use SQL as an interface to just create a model and do basic predictions through logistical regression XGBoost, right? So that was my first experience sort of leading some of the BigQuery ML. And then we also had what we call data Q&A, which is essentially an NLP-based interface on top of your data, which is there in BigQuery. So you can ask natural language questions on what's my year-to-date sale look like, etc., and it converts that into SQL and then executes that. So that was back in 2020. But when I transitioned over and I joined Salesforce, I was the product lead for Sales Einstein and Einstein Conversation inside the Sales Cloud. So essentially with Sales Einstein, you get capabilities. These are predictable capabilities like lead scoring, opportunity scoring, Einstein forecasting. And with Einstein Conversation Insight, we use speech recognition technology to understand what's being discussed in a call, that a sales call, and uses we built custom machine learning models to understand the intent behind the sales call and use that as for coaching sales rep to become much better, right? So that was like the initial experience I had leading those teams. But then when the whole Gen AI movement kicked in about 2 years ago, we decided how to pivot to focus on this opportunity. So I incubated this capability called Sales GPT, which allows you to use generative power to create personalized sales emails, right? And we launched that. But then during the process of that, we realized that having this assistant that is available in the flow of work for a seller or a service agent or a marketer is going to be very powerful. And that's when I incubated the idea of an assistant, which became the Einstein Copilot platform that allows you to have this much richer conversational experience that allows you to customize for your use cases. So that's been my experience in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years with respect to AI.
Interesting, and I mean, and it's like you worked across the history of AI. Where you've got traditional, predictive, and now we're into to generative, and obviously the hot topic over the last year or two, even generative AI and virtual assistants. The one thing I've noticed this year though is a bit of a shift, and obviously Gen AI focused, but more announcements of the capabilities to build different types of assistants and chatbots. The Salesforce announcement recently, Adobe announced a studio recently, NICE at Enterprise Connect announced a type of studio, and all of them slightly different focus, but probably more that I've missed even. But I'm just curious, like, what's driving this idea of no code, low code, and an AI studio?
No, Michael, that's such a great question. The way I look at it is sort of what AI Studio is having an iPhone moment. So if you think about what iPhone was launched in 2007, it was a full application. You can use the iPhone experience. You have some built-in apps. But then 2008 was App Store, right? That's what made iPhone tick. Is like the whole experience of extending, customizing iPhone for apps that you want within the app. I think that's what we're going through right now. Last year was the Chat GPT moment where you had the application, users got used to the experience. Now they're asking, how do I sort of extend this? How do I customize it, right? And that's what we're seeing with all the AI Studio movement that even Salesforce is behind. Right. So essentially what I see is that AI technology has been maturing. So over the past few years, AI technology has really matured significantly, becoming more accessible and easier to integrate in enterprise workflows. Now, as this AI capabilities expand and become more reliable, uh, we have to make sure as enterprise vendors, we're offering the right sort of tools for enterprises to go and build their AI powered apps, right? So that's one thing that is driving this. The second is, as we work with enterprises, every enterprise has unique needs and challenges, and it requires customized AI solutions, right? So there's a growing demand for this to tailor to their business needs, to customize to their business needs. And AI Studio Power provides this sort of a low code, no code environment to build these custom solution, catering to different diverse requirements of different businesses and
Mm.
industry, right? So having that sort of a tool experience for enterprises is going to be much more easier for them to embrace building AI apps. And the one which is pretty significant is how enterprises are seeing this opportunity to monetize data. And AI Studio makes it easy to go connect and integrate with your data, and then use that data to have new ways to monetize and new ways to power AI apps. So this whole
Mm.
providing an interface to look into your data and monetize that is another opportunity that AI Studio provides, which was not possible before. Data was is there, but how do you monetize that? And having a studio-like experience is going to be great. And one last one, which I see more and more, is this significant shortage of skilled AI
Mm.
professionals. Right now, you have all of this technology, but you need to have knowledge. So having some sort of a low-code tool like a studio makes it easy by democratizing access to AI development, by providing user-friendly interface and tools that empower even like developers of varying
Mm.
level of AI expertise to create and deploy AI solution much more faster, right? I think that's the opportunity AI Studio has, is making AI accessible to a lot of developers to build this AI apps.
Mm. Oh, that I mean that makes sense. I think as more and more people are using these, and I've noticed this myself. Just that capability of having conversations with data is a really powerful tool. So the more accessible you make that, I mean, across your business, that makes a lot of sense from a productivity gain standpoint in the use of the technology. But so with all these AI studios sort of coming out, and we're talking a little bit about what's the future look like here. I mean, is this the democratization of this technology? Does it really help almost anybody in the business be able to take advantage of these benefits, and use the studio to build whatever they see? I mean, is that and are there drawbacks, I guess, but is that the future that you see with this?
No, absolutely. I think one thing we recently did a survey for IT professionals with an enterprise, right? And we found that like 8 of 10 IT professionals, what they're saying is they want to unlock the power of AI across the business, right? And
Mhm.
generative AI has forced them to really think through new way of building how technology can be implemented and used. And what they've told us is they need a more intuitive user interface that makes it easy to interact with AI in the flow of work, AI models that fit their use cases, access to trusted customer and business data that
Mhm.
is grounding the AI models, and more importantly, how do you ensure accurate and relevant outputs, right? That's something we have been hearing from our customers. And Salesforce has always been focused on this low code, no code user, right? The admin
Mhm.
Salesforce admin persona is a good example. And we have invested in our platform features like flow to provide this sort of experience, right?
Mhm.
And we are taking the same philosophy even for Gen AI apps. So AI Studio, in my mind, holds the promise of democratizing AI in the flow of work, right? Which means having some sort of a drag and drop interface to sort of build these AI apps, make some small configuration changes. You can think of them as really Lego blocks, right? You provide
Mhm.
this with sort of Lego blocks, but the studio sort of brings all of these Lego blocks together much more faster, test it, right? That's critical. How do you test it and make sure there's no hallucination and the
Mhm.
accuracy is great, providing that sort of simple interface to that, and then deploy it within the organization and sort of use feedback and analytics to measure how it's driving ROI. I think we feel like that workflow of build, build, test, deploy, monitor, that life cycle is critical, and that's what we believe AI studios bring.
Mhm.
And of course, there are potential benefits. The benefit I feel is that accessibility to AI technology. It makes it easy for developers, low-code developers, to who have less knowledge but still understand the business processes to build these AI-powered apps faster. You can customize these AI-powered apps for the organization. And as we think about enterprises, it's all about customization. It's all about connecting to their data. It's all about connecting to their line of business application and bring that in the flow of work, right? If it's flow of work for a seller or a service agent or a marketer or a commerce person, right? This needs to be in the flow of work. So I think we believe having sort of a studio experience is going to benefit that. And of course, it provides a lot more innovation ideas that what was not possible because the access to technology was not there. It was harder to build it. But with AI Studio, we sort of bring that innovation faster within the organization to deploy it and then iterate, right? So I think those are the benefits I see. Of course, it comes with some amount of drawback. For example, the big one, which is top of mind for a lot of CIOs and thing is security and privacy concerns, right? Which is natural because you're now using power of LLM to provide this recommendation that you can act on it, right? So it's always a question of what data is being used, how much of data being used. So that security and privacy concern is top of mind for a lot of CEOs who are actively looking at some of these AI technologies, right? So something that we have to address. And second thing is the accuracy and reliability of this apps being built, right? So make sure that the data being provided, the hallucination is less. There is reliability in how the data is being generated or recommendations provided. There is good amount of explainability of how the AI is generating the responses and recommendation, right? So these are something which we see as a drawback, but we also see that as an opportunity. Go and address that in our Einstein One platform.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you you almost create this tiered effect of there are certain things that are simple enough that almost anyone can configure, and then you step up a bit and you go, okay, here are some unique use cases that could go all the way to a pro code developer if there's something really custom, or it might just be this sort of low code approach for developers who are maybe less experienced. So it lets you take advantage of folks all along that spectrum, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, so you mentioned data, and obviously that's one of the big concerns when you talk about any use of AI is the access to high quality data, and lots of businesses struggle, particularly today with the fact that we've had so many different applications proliferate across the enterprise that create data silos, lock that data in place, and don't really help share it across the whole business and the whole enterprise. So with all these different data sources and quality concerns as well, I mean, how should businesses think about this? How can they overcome these integration hurdles and really enable the effective use of this studio tool?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think high quality data is sort of the lifeblood of any successful AI project. Right? That good quality data drives out good outcomes for AI. Now, first, for AI to live up to its hype, right, generate the highest quality results, which is accurate and trusted, and deliver really tangible business values, these LLM must be grounded in trusted enterprise data, right, including data from telemetry data, line of business data. But what we have seen is most company data remains trapped in these disconnect silos. These are silos that are within the line of business systems, your mainframe system, and then of course you have your cloud applications. Right? They all are disconnected. They do in their silo they provide the full value, but when you bring it all together, there's no way. It's all trapped in these different disconnect silos across different applications, making the whole sort of digital transformation that CIOs and CEOs are trying to realize really elusive, right? And even worse is that if the data is still in silos, the AI is not able to use that information and providing really incorrect and irrelevant data, which is leading to inconsistent and incorrect results. I think that is the challenge we see today with a lot of the data silos scattered across different applications. So the question is, how do business think about this issue? How can they overcome? And I feel like first thing is to identify where this data is, looking at all of these different data silos and identifying them first. First thing is discovering where the data lives and what data is relevant for the outcome that an organization is trying to drive. And second thing is maintaining good data hygiene, right? There's a lot of data available, but is it useful, right? I always say there's big data, but there's useful data. But how much of the useful data from big data is actually being relevant, right? It's a very small percentage, right? It's not right? So how do you maintain good data hygiene? Investing in some data discovery and cleansing technology that allows you to keep your data at a high quality, and also and also label it so that way it becomes a good quality data that AI can use. When stable, the label data becomes more relevant, the accuracy and prediction becomes much more relevant in the flow of work. And second thing is really investing. Enterprise should really invest in some sort of a ETL and ELT technology that allows you to bring all of this data together, right? And one of the things we have done with our Sales Cloud Data Cloud platform is that we make it easy to not have to move data, but really do zero data copy experience, so that without having to move data from your large data warehouse systems, you can still bring that information into the AI model, right? And we have invested a lot in that technology with Data Cloud. And lastly, having a cohesive data sort of lake or data warehouse strategy, right? So how do you make that so that you have one single place where you're putting all of your enterprise data, have it connected, and then using that information to go and power your large language models or your custom models that we build, right? So the place where we have seen customers being really successful is having that data cloud strategy. And specifically for Sales Cloud or Salesforce, is that how do you bring that and connect that to our data cloud, which allows you to bring that and connect that with your CRM data. And once it's connected with your CRM data, we can use that to have a unified profile experience for the user, and then use that information in all our AI products. So starting with a very narrow use case to understand how that works, and then having all of the data come together and using the data to sort of deliver a business value application is where we believe enterprises can start. And we've seen that pretty successfully for some of our customers who have taken the strategy.
I mean, it it makes a lot of sense. I think the movement that I've seen from Salesforce over the last couple, well, I mean, it probably took more than a couple of years, but at least what we've seen with this idea of an integrated data layer that sits under every, all of the CRM applications that you might be using, but it also gives you one of the interesting capabilities is this idea of federated data, right? I can have stuff in a data lake, but I can also leave it there but use it inside of the data cloud because of that capability. So I thought that was really an interesting idea that says you don't necessarily have to move everything into one large repository, because we know things are across several different parts of the enterprise, but at the same time you've got this one integrated layer that lets you pull all that information together to support that. So that makes sense. So the one thing that jumps out when I think about that, though, is we're talking customer data, right? So obviously, this is privacy data that is a big concern, and in some areas, GDPR, and for example, in the EU, it's also regulated. So how do you how do you make this safe and transparent for a company that's using these tools, large language models? How do you protect the customer data and yet make this function effectively across the business?
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Security and privacy are of paramount importance when using generative AI and large language models, especially with customer data, right? And we have seen that in our different customer engagements. So, what can companies do, right? What can they do? So, I think first thing it starts with having a clear data policy, right? What kind of data should be used and how it should be used. Having that uh, CIO of the organization sort of look at all of the data and say which one is really relevant and what business outcomes we're trying to drive. And the second thing is making sure there is security parameters or perimeters established to securely transfer any of the sensitive data uh, to any of these AI tools. So there is like established way to handle security PII data. And other one is around monitoring and logging. Of course, data is going to be used by the AI system, but can you track it? Can you see what is being used? Can you log it information? So if you have any audit going on, you can go back and look at that information of how it was used, right? So having visibility into that on how the data is being used and getting transparent on how the data is getting used in what part of the workflow, and having this regular periodic reviews and audits so that way you can track it and change your policies based on that. And one of the things that we have done is we realized this pretty early on when we were engaging with customers last year, right? And what we have done is we have invested in what we call the Einstein trust layer because trust is such a core principle of Salesforce, and we wanted to make sure that all our product reflects that. So what does this trust layer, Einstein trust layer really provide? Right? It provides capabilities like data masking to ensure data privacy protection. We have zero retention architecture to ensure that data is never learned by the AI models or stored outside of Salesforce. We have an audit trail that allows you to track everything in as the data is being sent to these providers and how it comes back. We mask PII information of your social security information, your phone number, your first name, last name, address. We mask that information. You control that in as well. And we always keep human in the loop, right? So that way there is always human interaction, and that way humans can verify, provide feedback to our feedback store, which can then be used to enforce additional policies. So we have invested a lot in our Einstein trust layer to address some of these concerns that CIOs within organizations typically have, and that has really helped us move forward from going from initial pilot to really getting into some of the production deployments that we are seeing over the last months.
And I mean, that definitely steps in then to keep your sensitive data either isolated or at least away from the large language model. So you're not training the large language model on company data, customer data, that sort of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so we mentioned virtual assistants, and I know this is a big part of the Copilot Studio, AI studios in general, is being able to tailor them for different activities. But how do you see them? How do they evolve? Right? Today you can use them to draft an email, or maybe you can use them to set an appointment or summarize a meeting, that sort of thing. But how do they become more integrated into daily work? I mean, how are they really going to have an impact for me? Because that's what everybody cares about, right? What's it going to do for me? And are they really going to change the level of productivity in the way that I work?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I deeply care and think about as like AI virtual assistant. They're poised to become more than just glorified to-do list managers, right? And the way I think about it is, how do they become the three things? One thing, how do they become from a both more reactive assistant to be a proactive assistant? What I mean by that is, instead of going and asking the assistant for information about your opportunity or record or case, we expect, what I see is that assistant becomes more and more proactive. They learn the habits of the user. They learn what the user is trying to achieve. They look at your events and then use that information to proactively nudge you in the flow of work, what needs to happen. For example, you have a meeting coming up with a customer, and typically what SLR is looking for is like what was discussed in the last meeting. What was the neat notes from the
Yeah.
meeting, right? What was it?
Yep.
Like, it's easy to look up your calendar and say, you know what, hey, you have a meeting coming up. Do you want me to summarize your last conversation with the customer? I think that's one of the use cases. We are seeing more and more customers looking for the Copilot or the assistant to be more proactive, give them information about what they should work on next, etc. Right. So that, I think that's one trend I see more and more assistant moving towards a more proactive experience. And the second one is being a more instead of just giving a generic response, to be more adaptive learners. But what I mean by that is AI assistant will learn our work style, our preferences, our personalization of our workflows, and use that personalization about a given user, and then use that information to provide recommendation, the way they communicate, right, with their contacts, the way they prioritize their tasks, the way they handle the, the, the follow-ups from the discussion they've had with customers.
Sure.
These are all, so every user is different. Every user does it differently. So having that assistant to be truly assistant who understands the way you work as an individual work and use that personalization to drive recommendation is going to be the next trend, from a more of a generic assistant to be more of an adaptive learners. And the third one, which is assistive, it's a copilot, then how do you transform and from an assistant to be more automated workflow, right? To be more of an autopilot. And I use the word autopilot in a very again, going through a full autopilot is going to take a journey. But there are some simple workflows that can be automated that users do typically, right? And an email comes in, and that learning what happens in the email and use that to build follow-up tasks. A meeting just got over. What were the meeting notes? There is follow-up that needs to be done in terms of sending a collateral or setting up a next follow-up meeting. These are already discussed. Creating these tasks quickly is going to drive a lot of automation and really help a seller or a service agent to be more productive. They can use that time for more effective building relations with customers. So this whole assistive to automated will be another big thing that assistants have to evolve. So reactive to proactive, from a generic assistance to a more adaptive learners to provide personalized experience, and from a pure assistance to full automation, right? I think those are the three big ways I see this assistant technology evolve in the next year or two.
Yeah, I mean that is, just to put this in my own context, I know I've been trying a lot of different tools over the last, 14, 15 months, whatever. And one of the things I started doing recently that you mentioned in this, it's just really, really useful, and it's a simple thing, but one of the tools I use goes back and helps me with a pre-brief for whatever meeting I have coming up, right? And a lot of times I end up with a meeting that was scheduled a month and a half ago, and my memory is not great, and I'm trying to remember what the hell was this about, and I can't
Yeah.
remember, right? But I mean, just that little bit of like, oh yeah, okay, I talked to this person in February, and we talked about these four things, and we were going to follow up on this. That's a fantastic way to boost your own productivity. I mean, how long does it take me otherwise to search through all the emails and the messages on LinkedIn? And so, yeah, I can see how some of the movement already is a big deal. And then the more things it could do for me that I don't have to necessarily, interact with, obviously just could add a lot more value over time. So I think that makes sense. Now, we talked about studios, low code, no code, and now we talked a bit about assistants. Talk about how those come together. Can you, with somebody with minimal coding experience, can you configure an assistant or even a chatbot, and build applications specifically for those assistants? I mean, what are the capabilities here?
Yeah. No, you're right. I think the intersection of assistance and low code, no code AI studios is an exciting area, and that's what truly excites me, right? And the way I want to talk about it is like what we have done and what we have launched recently with Einstein One Studio. The Einstein One Studio really offers a low code environment for building what we call actions inside Copilot, building prompts and model in a secure manner. And what I mean by Copilot, so Copilot Studio has three parts, right? One is it has what we call Copilot Builder. And the way Copilot Builder works is the way you extend today Einstein Copilot is what we call actions. Actions are something that allows you to accomplish a business task. And Copilot Builder helps every company configure and customize Einstein Copilot for their business needs. And our Salesforce admin and developers can use tools that they already know. So if you like Apex, Flow, MuleSoft API, you can bring all of this existing investments you've done just through descriptions and instructions and enable Copilot to invoke those APIs, flows and APIs directly from the Copilot panel or the Copilot user interface, right? So that's one way we are making it easy to take existing investments inside the Copilot Builder. The second thing is Prompt Builder that allows you to craft and create trusted AI prompts with ease, right? So Prompt Builder, admins and developers can create these reusable AI prompts without it requiring any coding, just pure English, right? Simplify complex workflows. And it not only broadens the use of generative AI beyond conversation interface, but it also allows you to embed these prompts inside the Salesforce interface through quick actions, and you can associate this, right? So, for example, a custom prompt can be seamlessly embedded in a contact record as a button, that enabling an agent in the contact center to get a snapshot of all escalated cases. These are just simple things with few clicks and just instructions in English. You can actually build this very easily in Prompt Builder. And the third one, which is part of the Einstein One Studio, is Model Builder, which allows you to choose an LLM or build an AI model based on your jobs to be done. So unlike other solutions that you can only access one single large language model, what Einstein One Studio provides is the flexibility to connect to a variety of AI models. Now, additionally, Model Builder is also a no-code, low-code, and even pro-code way for companies to build their own predictive AI model trained on their data cloud data that resides in Salesforce Data Cloud.
Sure.
And this is what helps them to deploy these bring your own models into our generative AI applications like Prompt Builder Copilot builder. So make it easy. And the way we do that is we support variety of AI models, including the Salesforce agent model, but also from Salesforce partners such as Amazon Bedrock, Amazon SageMaker, Anthropic, Azure OpenAI, Cohere, Vertex AI. Like we support variety of this inside our model builder, which is very easy environment to configure it and then use that in the flow of work, right? And I think these are three areas that we have seen and invested over the course of last 1 year in making studios more accessible, right? To build these assistants, to build this embedded AI applications in the flow of work within Salesforce.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that there was a lot of talk about early on, we need to have all these people with prompt building skills. And, in the enterprise, the trend, I think, really fits well with where you guys have gone here. This idea that, no, we don't really need everybody to know how to be a prompt engineer. We need some people to know how to be a prompt engineer that can build it into the system so that it really does kind of take it a layer back from the regular end user. They're not writing a prompt every time they're trying to get it to do something, because those actions already built into whatever they've been deployed, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. And then the other thing, and I when I saw the studio, and you guys took me through, I was impressed with the library of actions that covers like the whole CRM workflow, right? So it's not a Copilot studio for sales or a Copilot studio for service, but it was across all of those different
Yeah.
applications, so that I can build one for support, and then tomorrow I might build one for a sales team or whatever. And instead of having to silo that, I can think about that across my entire business
Yeah.
processes versus that kind of siloed approach that I've seen from some of the other vendors. So that, I think that's a really interesting
Yeah.
point. I just wanted to make sure people understood that. So that's, to me, that's really powerful.
Yeah, so I think one thing to just add to that, right? We have a very opinionated view that there should be one Copilot within Salesforce. That
Mm.
means whether you're a seller, whether you're a service agent or a marketer, you go to one place and ask questions or
Mm.
interact with your Copilot for getting information. So within Salesforce, we have one Copilot, but every cloud, like Sales Cloud, have very domain specific actions that are there that can be built, but it's all accessible through one single universal Copilot.
Interesting. And the other twist here too is this isn't just virtual assistants, right? You can also deploy these in public facing ways as a chatbot.
Absolutely, I think that's a great call out. Is the same platform that we are using to build this employee facing uh, Copilot is the same platform that will launch our what we call Copilot for digital channels, that allows you to take the same capabilities, but now it's available in your web channel, your WhatsApp channel, your Facebook Messenger channel,
Mm.
or Apple Business Map. But it's all built on the same framework of building actions, putting it all together, and then just choosing which channel you want this to be available, and then it's going to be available in those channels, right? So it's the
Mm.
same experience, and we'll be launching that very soon in beta in the coming months. Is how you take
Nice.
Einstein Copilot and make it available in digital channels as well.
Mm. Yeah, really interesting. And I mean, certainly helps from a training perspective as well, because your Salesforce admin are going to go through that and they'll be able to operate at a certain level. I mean, obviously, there's some custom actions and customizations that you'd want to have with the IT team, but yeah, that to me that makes a lot of sense, and it helps me kind of understand how I would integrate this into my business better. So we're getting near the end of time, but I wanted to kind of think about this in the context of what customers are doing today. So, what do you have any good examples of some of the more innovative ways businesses are using this today?
You know, now I think there are a few examples we have learned in the last 1 year. We've been working with customers, but one thing that I would which we have seen is a lot of customers are actually learning of how to use these tools, how Gen AI is going to really help them, right? So one data point I have is we have launched more than 30 courses in our Trailhead, which is our
Mm.
completely free learning platform solution on Einstein Copilot, Prompt Builder, our trust layer. And we've seen that more than 6 million trailblazers have used our trailheads to learn and connect. And really, more than 1 million AI badges have been issued since June of 2023. So that shows that a lot of our customers are first getting ramped up on how this technologies are going to be useful, right? So this is a good data point that we are seeing is just training and enablement is getting a lot of traction. When it comes to real world customer examples, one thing I want to, one customer I want to call out is Gucci. So when we were interacting with Gucci about like 18 months ago, even before all of the Gen AI movement started, is one thing that Gucci really wanted is to have a AI-powered reply that their service agent will provide to their customers. And Gucci being a premium brand, they didn't want their service agent to have any just sort of generic reply. They wanted what they call Guccify. Guccify their email responses, which essentially means understanding the voice and tone of what it means to respond as service advisor that amplifies their brand, their storytelling, and just moving away from a generic traditional customer service model, right? So we worked with them. We understood all of their chat conversations that they had in the past. What is the tone and brand voice of Gucci? And then we Guccified their email through our service GPT experience, which allows them to now generate personalized replies, right? So what we see in one of the metrics that is pretty staggering is out of the 4,000 AI-powered service conversations that their service advisor had, only 2 of them required human correction needed, right? That's a pretty significant gain in savings of time, right? So they've seen 50% increase in conversion, about 16% increase in revenue just over 5 campaigns. So that's one example of a customer that we work, which has actually seen tangible value starting with a pilot, but now they're in production, right? The other one, which is a different customer, is Simply Health. So Simply Health is a UK health solution provider, and they were initial customers that used our sales GPT to generate email and write emails, and they've seen like 90% time saving that their sellers have in just crafting these email responses. But they also embraced our service GPT, which creating these reply recommendations, etc. So we're seeing 35% of the cases resolved just through a conversational AI, through a chatbot, which has really helped them resolve like 10% of service cases, and the call volume has reduced by over 40%. So that's another big boost in productivity in how these generative AI solution in the flow of work has really made Simply Health support team and sales team much more productive, right? I think those are some of the early examples we are seeing. Of course, with Copilot, we are now seeing a lot of customers so we launched Copilot beta back at Trailblaze DX in a month ago. I'm excited to share that we will be announcing our GA next week at the New York World Tour. That's exciting. But early scenarios are really taking customers who are taking Copilot and customizing it. The one thing they're seeing is, okay, that's great. You have a library of actions, but we have some custom actions that calls flow, apexes. We want to sort of bring that in through custom actions inside Copilot and have questions about troubleshooting a case or understanding, bring some external data from data providers and bring that into the Copilot experience and then use that to ground and generate that personalized email responses, right? We're seeing those early use cases that our customers are trying out, and hopefully, and maybe in the next coming months, they will take that initial pilots and move that into production as well. So excited to see how that comes together in the next few months.
Yeah, no, thanks. Those are really good examples, and I think really help to start to, really help companies understand what the possibilities are. And obviously, we're going to grow those use cases a lot over the next few years. But well, that's all the time we have. But before I let you go, Vinay, one of the things I like to do at the end of the show is just, ask if you can recommend somebody for the audience, a thought leader, author, mentor, somebody that's influential to you, but you think would also, provide some help to the audience in general.
Yeah, no, there are quite a few that come to mind, but one person that really has had a big impact on me as a product leader is Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek is an author. His famous book is called Start With Why, and this essentially I came across him back in 2016 through his TED Talk, but then he launched his book Start With Why. But The book revolves around the importance of identifying and articulating the fundamental purpose of why a product exists or even an organization exists, right? And his thesis is people don't buy what you do, but they buy why you do it. The focus on
Mm,
why is very, very important as you build products, right? And he argues that successful product leaders and organizations clearly start by articulating why. What is the core reason of that existence before they address how and what the product does, right? And that philosophy is something I've carried throughout uh, in my product development, even with Copilot. The why of Copilot is really about helping sellers, service agents, or anyone to be more productive, right?
mm,
Drive efficiency, even if it means if I can save 1 hour of a time in seller crafting the email, right, by
yeah.
automation and seller. That is the why. Is how to give that 1 hour back to a seller, right? And how do you save time, make them more productive, more than effective, right? That's the why. How we do it is we build a low code, easy to use studio that allows you to build uh,
Mm.
Copilot Action, and what it is really the product and services we offer to Copilot and the Einstein Monster platform, right? But starting with why has really helped me understand how to build the product, how to inspire our customers to use it and try it out, and that his book has significant impact in the way I think about product uh, management and how I build products.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. Thanks. That's a very good recommendation. So, Vinay, I really appreciate you joining me today. Great conversation, really interesting. Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks, Michael. It was a great opportunity chatting with you, and looking forward to uh, interacting with you as well. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. And that's the show for this week. Thank you all for joining. Remember to hit that subscribe button. And for more on AI and other software research reports and posts, check out the arionresearch.com/blog and /research reports. And don't forget to join us next week. I'm Michael Fawcett, and this is the Disambiguation Podcast.